and I have been following you and your career for a very long time. So it's a very big honor to speak with you today. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh my goodness, thank you. That's so sweet of you. I'm very excited. My first interview of the day.
Oh my gosh, what an honor. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you about this movie in particular because, oh my gosh, like you left me on the edge of my seat. But I'm really curious the mindset for this character because there are a lot of heavy topics. What did you sort of do to prepare and get in that zone?
I honestly feel like there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do to prepare for something so heavy. But I think the coolest thing for me was definitely working on the mindset of being the antagonist and being the lead is kind of a new concept. And I also think playing a character that doesn't have to be likable as a female in this industry is kind of a hard idea to grasp. And so a lot of it was me kind of tackling my own ideas of like, this character doesn't have to be likable. In fact, she's not supposed to be likable and she's an antagonist. And I think it was more about my perception of the industry and less about actually preparing for the role because there's nothing that can prepare you for being in a film this kind of chaotic and heavy. And I already have panic and anxiety attacks all the time. So I could just, channel that in a very easy and natural way.
Honestly, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that because mental health is such an important topic and I don't feel like it's always tackled the right way in media. And I really appreciated the kind of spiral that it portrayed rather than sugarcoating it or anything like that. Are there any conversations you're hoping that it starts about mental health, anxiety, or even just social media's play in all of it? Because that is a huge factor.
I mean, especially with the kids that are growing up right now, I'm really thankful I didn't grow up with much social media, especially like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. It all feels like it can be pretty negative, especially when you look at it through the lens of Jane. You can see what the negative effects could be. So I would love it if I started conversations like that. But the biggest thing for me was when you look at the parental figures in this movie, you never meet Izzy's parents, which I think is a very obvious, like big red flag. And my parents in the film are so removed from what's going on in my life. They don't even know that my character is going through anxiety and panic disorder attacks and struggling with her mental health. They're not even checking in. At one point, you see a scene where they ask her how her day was, and she's like, "Oh, I won the debate." And they're like, "Congrats." And that's it. Like, there's no questions about how she's actually feeling or what's going on. She's putting so much pressure on herself. There's another scene where you find out she doesn't get what she's trying to get without giving it away. And they're like, don't worry about it. They'll eventually change their minds. It's not like it's going to be okay. Here's a reason why. It's like, no. They're going to change their minds. This is the only thing that you should be attaching yourself to. So I would love it if it started conversations more with youth feeling comfortable kind of opening up to their parents if they have that relationship, or if parents who watch it being like, oh my God, I should check in with my kid more often. That's kind of a crazy goal to have for a film like this because there's so many like outlandish things that happen. It's definitely not based in reality, but I think anybody who has anxiety attacks or panic attacks will be able to watch this and see that on screen for the first time. I've never seen it on screen before. So although it's a very dark and heavy story, the idea of being able to see a real panic attack or an anxiety attack on camera was really exciting to me as someone who deals with that.
I agree with you. And, I have to give you a little round of applause here because you are a producer. It made my heart so happy seeing that, like in the beginning, a Madelaine Petsch production. I was so thrilled. Can you talk to me about taking on that role and what it meant to you? I'm so happy.
Thank you. I'm also equally thrilled about it, maybe more. And it was really cool to be behind the scenes for a lot of it. I mean, casting was probably my favorite part. Chloe Bailey is a force to be reckoned with. I'm really honored to have made her first feature film with her. And I think the coolest part to me was just, I always knew what producers did on set, but I don't think I understood how much they did. And being on set, shooting as a star, and then also producing it, I learned so much more about what the vast scope of work is as a producer. I mean, I'd be finishing on set and then getting into a meeting and then trying to change a schedule because somebody's flight didn't make it or whatever it is. And it's just like, I have so much more respect for what everybody does in the industry. And I'm so much more excited about producing more things because it really made me feel even more alive and more attached to what I was doing.
Like I said, I've been following you in your career and you just have such amazing range. I just wanted to point that out. What excites you when it comes to roles and your new characters? Is there something you look for?
I feel like it's something different every time. I mean, when I found Jane, I really wanted something that spoke to my anxiety attacks because they've only gotten worse as I've gotten older. And I feel like, although I really want to stress this is not based in reality, this film was very outlandish and crazy, but like the anxiety attacks were really important to me. So to me, it was like I wanted to feel something where I could kind of live cathartically through my art. in that sense. So that was important to me for this. And, you know, now my dream is to go and do an action movie. So, I mean, we'll see what happens next.
Love it. And, you know, I have to say the psychological thriller genre is such an interesting one, such a fun one, but I really appreciate it, kind of like you mentioned before, that this is a female-driven project and these characters are not perfect. You're seeing them in a very interesting and raw light. What do you think that adds to a movie like this?
I mean, it's so funny because to me, the most important thing as I move through my career is supporting other females in this industry. And so to be in a role where like you're so clearly not doing that, I think is interesting. And I almost hope that someone could watch it and maybe check out their actions towards other people and maybe check themselves a little bit, because I do feel like now more than ever, thank God I'm not in high school right now, because I feel like it must just be kind of insane. Like it seems really kind of scary to have access to people in this way when you leave high school. I'm like dating myself, but you know what I mean? Like you go on social media and then like you can say something mean about someone's hair or whatever. And I do hope that, I don't know who watches this, but that people watch this and they kind of check their actions if they're being mean to others. Like, I guess that would be the thing. Cause like really more than anything, we should be supporting each other, which we're not doing in this movie.
I agree with you. And I hope it does the same thing. Is like, and you know, your characters really resonate with the viewers and your fans. So I'm curious what it's like for you to see that impact firsthand and hear back from fans. Like, this character affected me in this way. This character brought this to my attention.
I mean, I'd say the character that I think has resonated most with people would be Cheryl in Riverdale. I don't think I ever thought it was possible for my art to affect people's actual real life, especially so early into my career. So I just have to say it's like the biggest blessing, and like I think every artist's dream.
Lastly, very quickly, I just wanted to say, obviously we have this idea of a negative platform in Jane, but I'm curious, you use your platform for good and for spreading the message. So I'm curious what you hope to pass along to your fans with your platform.
Oh my goodness. I mean, there's so many things. I definitely try to make everything as palatable as possible. I'm really focusing right now on environmental causes and climate change, because I think now more than ever, if you look at the heat waves that are happening in London, I think you can really see the effects of climate change on the planet, like really plausibly see them for the first time maybe ever. So like as a society, we're actually acknowledging climate change. So that's kind of my main driving force. Another driving force would be Roe v. Wade being overturned and kind of focusing on that as well. But there's, I mean, kind of a constant needle that we're trying to push. And I'm really thankful that I have the platform, and I'm really thankful that I have people who care about what I have to say.
Madelaine, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I know how busy you are. Huge congrats on the film. I can't wait for everyone else to see your work in this. It was amazing.
Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you.
It's so lovely talking to you as well.
In the lectures, fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The Hard Knock Life. Comics